Everybody, how's everybody doing today? Welcome to my photography chat live stream where we talk about photography, catch up with the community, see how everybody's doing. I hope you're doing well. I'm doing well, thanks. And I had a few topics I wanted to go over today. They were brought up in the comment sections in my other videos, and I thought there were some really interesting points made, as well as some very good questions. I touched on one last week about focus stacking the moon in software, meaning they would just, I, the idea being you might be able to give sharper shots, and effectively you can sometimes get a sharper shot if you focus stack the moon, but for the most part, I got better results with a single image. Um, but I wanted to expand on that a little bit to other subjects as well. For example, I did a bird shot yesterday where I was in SH2 and, I'm capturing basically 25 frames per second. I didn't have it set to 50 for some reason, but I was at 25 frames per second. And so I captured, I think it was a tree swallow. And I compared a single frame out of those 25 compared to, I stacked together um, 8 of them, because out of the 25, the bird moved its head a little bit. So I just picked the 8 out of those 25 where the bird was basically frozen, didn't move. Had I done it at 50 frames per second, I probably got 16 to 20 frames where the bird wasn't moving. But in any case, I took those 8 frames and I focus stacked them, even though there's no theoretically, there's really no change in the focal plane. The camera probably focused on the bird using bird detect, and during those 25 frames per second, it probably didn't change focus much at all. I was in continuous autofocus, just to be clear, with bird detect, and uh, you should not, if in a perfect world, get a sharper image stacking 8 identical photos versus uh, a single shot. And by stacking, I'm not talking about like averaging the images together to reduce noise and things, which is very common in astrophotography, but stacking in the sense that it's going to compare each image and then take the sharpest parts of each image and then blend those back together like a puzzle, right? Like you have pieces of a puzzle, and this piece is a little sharper than that piece, so use this one. But you're not changing your depth of field or your focal plane. And the reason that works is there's some very minor things like shot noise where uh, one pixel gets a little more light than another, the one next to it, but then in the next frame it's reversed where one pixel gets a little more light than the other, thereby getting better signal to noise ratio and uh, higher quality pixel. And that's what focus stacking is, right? Because normally in focus stacking, you're changing the focal plane, and then focus stacking looks for all the sharp pixels among those images and puts them together to make a single image, which I do a lot of. But this was a little bit different. This was taking the idea from last week shooting the moon and applying it to other subjects. And I have to say, you have to pixel peep like 400% to see the difference. However, ultimately, I did get just a tiny bit sharper image, focus stacking a series of images. So let me go ahead and show those and uh, see if I can do this without. So this is the unstacked, this is the stacked. Okay. I didn't crop them quite exactly the same, but doesn't matter. The number of pixels in total are the same. Okay, so over here on the left is the single image. Over here on the right is a stacked image, and I processed them almost identical. Uh, DxO with noise reduction. Let me try and line these up and get them to the same size. And again, there's not like more pixels in one or the other. They were just cropped a little bit differently. And it's going to be very, very difficult in a stream to tell the difference. But let's start here, excuse me, with the feather detail and the white feathers here compared to over here. Clearly, and I'm zoomed in at let's make this 700%, just so in case there's a stream issue. Um, Definitely in the white feathers, like right in here, you can see more detail than in the unstacked image. However, in the shadow areas, which I had to pull the shadows up, it didn't do quite as good a job. I actually see better detail here in the deep shadows, and this was almost crushed to black. So I really had to pull this almost two stops to pull this feather detail up. So in this situation, it didn't really do quite as well because I'm definitely seeing better detail here than over here. However, in the well lit areas, let's go over here. Um, Let me resize it again. Definitely, there's better detail. Like if you look here and on the beak, along the beak, and the feathers underneath the beak, especially in the lighted areas. Like I said, when we get into the shadow areas, it's not quite as good. But even here in the shadow area, I can see a line here and here. I mean, I see the line here and here, but not over here. Also in the eye, just a tiny bit more definition around the eye. And then if you look right here, there's a couple of more fine details in the feathers here and not here. Especially here in the corner of the eye, there's some feather detail here that we're not getting over here. So this was lost to shot noise and the denoising algorithm in combination. But also, if you look at the nose, definitely better detail here. It's very, very, very subtle. When you back off to normal viewing distance, there's almost no difference at all. Uh, so I would say it was kind of a wash in this particular shot where the shadow detail got better detail than the stack shot, but then the lighted areas got better detail than the single shot. So I thought this was very interesting. This is something I'm going to experiment with a bit more uh, and see if I can improve on this technique, if you want to call it that. And then when you back off, uh, at a normal viewing, it's really not much difference at all. Like I said, other than the eye, process the eye a little bit different over here, and some of the highlights. But yeah, for all intents and purposes, let's look at the leaves down here. I think definitely I'm seeing better detail in the leaves, and I'm at 672% here. Yeah, I kind of like the details I'm seeing over here. They're not quite as harsh, but there's more detail. Let's try this. I'm going to move over here now. Yeah, it's very, very subtle, but I am seeing more detail on the stacked image. even on the leaf. A little bit less contrasty, but I'm seeing more fine detail. How about this thing here? Tough call here. So I just wanted to share that I thought it was very, very interesting. Uh, this particular technique, and this was only 8 shots, and the subject's moving, right? Even if I captured like 0.33 seconds uh, in that third of a second, the bird is going to move a little bit, whether it's his chest breathing or his head moving a little bit. So I think it's something that if I go back and I try to 50 frames per second, I might get better result. Ultimately, this is just an academic exercise, right? I don't know if anybody wants to go through that kind of workflow for every shot, clearly. But once in a while, that's why we do this. It's just fun, right? Just for fun to see. Uh, I don't want to take my photography and make it hard. I just want to go out and have some fun. But this was an area I thought I'd try and have a little fun with. I've tried this in the past, half-heartedly, because I thought in theory that should work. Like in the back of my head, I said this should work, but uh, I because of the workflow, I just didn't bother. But that conversation we had last week kind of re-sparked my interest in this particular application or technique. So I thought I'd give it another shot, and I'm seeing some result, like a little bit of success, but it's just one image. There were a few other images that I tried, but the subject was moving too much. And, if you're dealing with a completely static object, right? Something that's not moving at all, focus stacking doesn't make a lot of sense. Doing averaging, right, would be better approach uh, to stacking. Actually, stacking the images and averaging them together, like you would in astrophotography, is the better approach for a completely static object. Uh, but when something's moving a little bit, I think focus stacking may be the better approach. But I'll have to try a few more times and experiment a little bit. Because when I tried to do averaging, right, with that same set of 8 images, they didn't line up correctly. I mean, I did auto align and I did averaging, and the image came out very soft. It just came out very, very soft because in averaging, it's not looking for the sharpest parts. It's just averaging 2 pixels together. And when those pixels uh, are lined up, you have one soft set of pixels and one sharp set of pixels, and then you average them. You get sort of an average between the two. Versus focus stacking, if you have a sharp set of pixels here and a soft set of pixels here, stacking is going to take the sharper part over here, right? So that's kind of the difference, right? Yeah. But yeah, very, very interesting. And just a quick shout out, or not shout out, I'm sorry, but a quick I'm gonna just pull up how do you average a photo in post? You have to do it in Photoshop. That's the tool that I use. I'm sure there's others out there, but in Photoshop, you convert you import those 8 shots, convert them to a smart object, and then go into the layers tab and select smart objects, then select averaging, either median, mean. There's a bunch of selections there. I typically use median as where it averages things together rather than the mean. But you can try either one and see which one gets better results for static objects. For moving subjects like that bird and other things that I wanted to try it on, I don't know if it's not going to work. It's just going to give you an average of soft pixels and sharp pixels together. So you're not ultimately getting the sharpest pixel. And Darko, you did some drifting car event. That's cool. I've done that a couple times. I think I'm going again in a couple of weeks. I'll have to check my calendar, but yeah, I have that set up too. And Anthony says, highly recommend the 12 to 100 f4 Pro. Yep, many do. It's a very, very good lens. And good morning. Hey, Marcia, David, Anthony, Ethan. Oh, you're going to have to catch up later. Sorry. We're going to miss you during the stream live, but that's okay. When you watch it after the fact, you can put it at 2x and get it over with quicker, right? And good morning, Thomas and Andreas. Good to see you. And Marco, of course, always good to see you here. Thank you so much, everyone, for your support. I'm running my streams ad-free this month again, so I'm relying on your support either through memberships and donations to help make the experience or to keep keep the streams ad-free. And I have all my affiliate links down below for Amazon, B&H, and maybe another one in there, DxO. Using those links, I get a few pennies off your purchases there. And I put together some deals that I usually go over Monday or Tuesday. Typically on Tuesday, I do a shopping stream where I show you my best deals that I could find online. So be sure to check out my Tuesday streams or shopping stream. And also on Fridays, I do live photo editing where you can submit your images and then I use Photolab to edit them live. And I'm going to try and do something special this week for Photolab. I'm Johnny come lately on this. I was supposed to do it last week, but I'm going to try and do it this week. And so be sure to look out for that. If you're interested in DxO Photolab or any of the DxO products, definitely keep an eye out on my channel this week for a special video or live stream about that. All right. So that was that. I thought that was interesting. Another thing is another question that came up was about diffusers. I forget who it was exactly, but they said I in the comment they said something to the effect that I noticed that Robin Wong likes to use off-camera flash in his macro photography, and I prefer to use on-camera flash in my macro photography. And both are valid, right? Uh, I prefer on-camera flash primarily because it keeps my hands basically free to hold the camera and move my arm for support, when I'm hand holding. If I'm on a tripod, uh, then there's a lot of scenarios where I would prefer off-camera flash because then I can move the light, and get side shadows and things like that. But generally speaking, uh, handheld, it does seem like Robin does a lot of off-camera flash, hand holding. And to that end, there was also questions about the diffuser. I like to use this little diopter on my 60 macro. It gives me about a 1.5x magnification versus 1:1. Uh, but I prefer this diffuser now. This is like my favorite diffuser. And the trick is to tilt it forward so that the light gets in front of the lens. Because if you do like this, it's not going to diffuse very much, right? And you still have potential to get a shadow from the lens because the light is coming in from behind. So you want to make sure when you use a diffuser like this, you tilt it forward or extend it out as far as you can so that the light comes in front of the lens and you won't get shadowing off of the lens itself, especially when you're using a smaller flash like this is the IT30. It doesn't sit very high off the camera. So without the diffuser at all, I definitely get a shadow over my subject. And it's not going to be illuminated with the flash because the lens is blocking it. And there's, other camera models or systems that have much bigger lenses, even this one with the 90 macro, or like I like to use diopters and I could exaggerate that with extension tubes, which I've done also. But ultimately, I found 1.5x is actually enough for me for right now. I would love to have a 90 macro, just a little out of my price bracket right now. So this is the diffuser. It's very light, using a small flash, very lightweight. Uh, Now, what I've seen Robin do a lot of times is he'll have the off-camera flash like this, typically not bare like this. He'll have a diffuser attached. Let me get one. I mean, excuse me, I think he's using something like this, right? Where it just attaches to the front. And this is ultimately the better diffuser because all of the light stays inside here and comes out the front for the most part, right? So you can use less power, get faster recycle times. I don't think the light's really any more diffused than the other one because the surface area is roughly the same. Uh, but this, like I'm a clone of Robin Wong right now, right? Doing macro. This will give you the nicer side lighting, right? And you can angle this in a way so you can minimize shadows coming off leaves and other distractions. When you can move the light, this will ultimately give you nicer results, right? More pleasing results off camera. But you can see I'm holding the camera with one hand now. It's not as stable, and this hand is not free. So it's, I like to lean against a tree or a wall, as you can see from all the scars on my arm, and hold the camera with two hands. A lot of times I have the screen out like this, and I'm trying to, you know, brace myself. You can do this. You can put your arm against the wall, but then you don't have sort of the mobility of moving the flash where you want, right? But that's why I do a lot of on-camera flash, and I like the new IT30 because it's very powerful, has very fast recycle times, and it's lightweight, right, and fits right on the top. When I used this is the V480. I used to do with the V1, right, the big honking Pro Flash. Now this one also can get the light in front of the lens. I just have to tilt it forward sometimes a little bit. This blocks a little bit of light, but ultimately, I will get soft light out of this with, and I can slide this forward and backwards a little bit if I need to. So I can use less power. So I can be like at 1/32 or 1/16 power. So I can get faster recycle times if I'm doing focus bracketing. And this is the technically this is the better setup because you have more power and faster recycle times. But then the weight and the mobility of using something like this on camera can limit you in the field because a lot of times you have to get very close to your subjects, and then this thing will be hitting a branch or uh, whatever, and the light's going to be blocked. Whereas this one here, the same thing applies, right? Branches and things can hit this, but a lot of times what I'll do is I'll rotate this like this. I'll rotate it to the side or to the left, and I'm still getting the diffused light, but now the branch has room to move out of the way, right? The diffuser moves out of the way basically. And because the IT30 is much lower like this, the light still hits, as you can see, I can move this quite a bit and the light's still going to get diffused through this. Now this one here, you have to use a more power out of the flash. The IT30 has enough power, but that's because like half the light's getting bounced back and only half is coming through. So that's why you have to use more power versus, these all the lights coming out through the front. Uh, so this is my preferred setup. Very small, lightweight, and basically, it's no problem. Versus off camera, if I'm on a tripod, I prefer using off camera flash. But when I'm hand holding, I prefer a lighter setup with both hands on the camera so I can get better stability, do any kind of bracing that I need to do, like against a tree or a brick or whatever. So I hope that answered the question about why I prefer this over, say, off camera flash when I'm doing macro photography. I mean, I don't know if Robin has a preference off or on camera. He probably does both equally, but you only see him a lot of times on camera, like in his videos using off camera flash. I don't know if he's ever talked about it directly. Um, but for me, it's always going to be this setup with this diffuser because this just packs down, and then I have a little bag here, like this bag, and I put my diopter in here. I can even put my diffuser in here, and my extension tubes. So even if you don't have the 60 macro lens, the 40 to 150 kit lens, the little plastic fantastic, this will give you really good magnification. I haven't measured it recently. But this will really give you good magnification with just your kit lens, 14 to 42, 40 to 150 is even better, and great diffuse light. And I can even fit this inside if I want. I don't, but I can just jam this in there. Anyway, you get the idea. So now I have my complete setup here for macro photography. Maybe a little bigger bag would be useful, but I typically don't put it in there. But I'm good to go, just like that. Um, this was just a lens pouch that came with one of my lenses. Okay, so that's my diffuser conversation. I prefer on camera. I don't know if Robin prefers on or off camera. He probably does equally. I prefer on camera. That's kind of my go-to workflow and setup. But if I know I'm going to be bringing a tripod, I'm always ready to use the flash off camera. So it's not that I don't like off camera flash. It's just uh, the workflow for me is easier with on camera. And off camera, it doesn't matter because now the tripod's holding the camera. My hands are free to do whatever, right? Okay. Um, and thanks. I appreciate that, Darko. Darko's a huge fan. I really appreciate it. Also, I now have the Godak's IM30. Local dealer has them now, and I ordered 5, sold them on one day. Wow. Or he ordered 5 and sold. Yeah. The IM30 is the same thing as the IT30, just without TTL, but it has the same power output. It uses AAA batteries instead of a lithium ion, but it costs half the price. But you get the same power output, basically the same recycle time. AA, AAA batteries don't quite have the juice to power the capacitors as quickly as a lithium ion, but you get very, very good. You get almost virtually the same results with the IM30 as you do the IT30. And thanks for the Mosisu camera sling bag deal tip for $12 is very nice. Oh, awesome. Yeah, so like I said on my Tuesday streams, I try to find really good deals. A messenger bag for $12 and a nice one. Perfect, perfect is relative, but it's really the perfect size for our Micro Four Third camera systems. It's very well made, nice, really nice vinyl. I don't know what else to call it, but they like to use the scientific term polyurethane, PU, whatever. But it's, I just call it vinyl. And plenty of pockets and good stitching on the strap, nice nylon strap, 12 bucks. If I didn't already have like 5 messenger bags or more, I would have picked another one up, no problem. And these are the kind of bags, if you use them every day, they'll last you a couple years. If it's your everyday bag. If you use them just once in a while, they'll last you 5 to 10 years easy. 10 is pushing it maybe, unless you really maintain the vinyl, right? You have to maintain vinyl the same as you do leather. Use leather conditioning, uh, waxes and things like that. Not wax, but it's like a silicone or something. I forget. Anyway, buy leather conditioner, and you can maintain the condition of the vinyl pretty much like leather. Of course, there's really no substitute for leather. Not, or I should say, nothing like leather, though, right? Darga says, I have an articulating arm with a nanotube light and use raw colors for effects when I do macro shots, but I need magnification, so Raynox will support that. Yes. Raynox is excellent. The one that I have is not a Raynox. Raynox is kind of the same idea. They have the clip-on and they have the screw-on, I think. And Nissi also has some very good screw-on diopters. Uh, they call them macro lens adapters, but technically, I think they're just diopters, right? And if I'm using that term wrong, let me know. I picked that word up somewhere along the way. It sounds smart. Anyway, uh, the one that I got is from Neewer. It's 43 bucks. It comes with 2 different clips, one for a little bit larger lens, one for smaller lenses. And I don't see any issues with image quality. The quality is excellent. And sources arrived late. You started earlier than last week. Not sure I understood what you did with the Swallow pick. Did you use stacking software to get? Yes, I used Photoshop Focus Stacking. So you do blend images. I don't know if I can pull it up. I'll come back to it. Yes, the diopter is on my Amazon page, so I'll pull that up. So there's a link down below, robtrek.com/deals. It'll take you to this page here, and there's a tripod for $25. Tripod weight stone bag, which is really useful for, less than $4. Some other tripods here and filters, but down here, it's probably close to the bottom because, yeah, it's right here. This is an awesome, awesome thing. So let me give you I'm going to just put the link directly there into the chat. And these are my affiliate links. I will earn a commission if you buy it, ideally. You have to buy it within 24 hours of clicking the link. Otherwise, I won't get anything. But that's the diopter, and then the diffuser that I showed you is right next to it. Is this one, the Angler? Is $10 or $9.25. I bought this a couple of months ago, and it's been great. And this will fit up to about a 72 millimeter diameter, maybe a little more. Uh, but certainly for like the 60 macro, it's perfectly fine. Um, I'll give a quick link to this one as well. But on my deal page, you can put together, if you're just getting started in photography, for about $100, you can put together a really nice set of accessories: tripod bag, diopter, diffuser, and flash. For like maybe just over $100, you can put all that together, and you can do some great macro photography with your camera and kit lens, and you can do long exposure photography. You can get a set of filters for another 10 or 20 bucks. I mean, these are basic accessories that will expand your photography into a lot of different genres that would be very difficult to do just without these things, right? Or you'll get much better results with them. And then I think I asked before, but Rob, do you use blinds? No, I don't use blinds. I just walk around. And for my backyard birding, the birds are very they after about 10 or 15 minutes, they don't care if you're within 20 feet of them or not, if you're just sitting there, because they're so freaking hungry. They'll risk it. Um, there's places I can go to where there's blinds set up, and 9 times out of 10, there's no birds there. So I haven't found a good blind in a public space, but I don't bring a blind with me because they got these tents you can get that have the openings and things. And Peter says, got the star filter set for 5 bucks. Have not used them, but well made, nice case. Yes, I got mine in too. Uh, the case actually, it looks nice, but it's not very practical for filters. The case that this is kind of a generic case, but this is the case it came with. You know, it's kind of it's kind of awkward to put filters in here, but it's a nice case for other stuff. Fortunately, I have a bunch of other cases like this, and I put the 6-point star filter in here. I think it's this one. Yeah. Oh, I'm using the 8 point because I was playing around with the 6 point for a while, but I got the 8 point. So I got three star filters. What this does is it creates speculars or it takes the speculars and streaks them out, right, into 6 or 8 points or 4 points. Might have an example of that handy. Let me take a quick look. Uh, 5 bucks. It says $9 on my deal page, but when you click on it, there's a coupon or something for $5 off or 50% off, something like that. But $5 for three filters. Well, really one. They're all star filters. Just how many points do you want? And I like to combine them with other filters, and I'll show you an example of that. Oh, wow. Man, I've been taking a lot of pictures. Hold on. It's got to be right in here. I don't know. I don't see it. I know it's in my black and white album because I did it black and white. Do it this way. And let's go down. That's kind of an example. Is this sorted by date? Yeah, sorted by date. Oh, yada, 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 yada. Should be right here. It hasn't been that long. It's not in here, or I can't find it. Sorry. Here it is. This one. Uh, why doesn't that open? All of a sudden, I got that song in my head. As I'm walking down the street singing do a diddy diddy dum diddy do. All right, I won't. I'll spare you guys from my singing voice. It's awful. Why isn't it like right here? Well, here's one. It's kind. This is kind of an example. It takes your speculars and makes them into stars. This, I think, this was the 6 point star filter. As you can see, I just love this thing. Um, there's another one. Here it is. This one came out really good, I think, because this was around Christmas time, and this is also the 6 point star filter. Uh, it just it's awesome. I just love this, and then I combine them sometimes. Like I think this is a combined set, star filter and swirly filter combined, because I'm getting some speculars down in here, and I'll show you some more recent things that I did. Let me go up. Another filter I really like is the swirly filter. So this swirly filter, this is basically straight out of camera. Um, let's see. This is a friend of mine and I went out the other day. This is the swirly filter combined with the star filter. The star filter got kind of muted here, but I did have them both stacked together. But I love this swirly filter. And this is the swirly filter again, but without speculars. It's a friend of mine. This is my kaleidoscope filter. Uh, yeah, these are, oh, here I was doing infrared. These are kind of cool. So yeah, I'm a big filter fan, right? I love doing filters and using filters. As you can see from my pile over here, I have piles of filters and step rings just because I have more lenses than I do have filters. Almost. I have to count. All right. But yeah, Peter, definitely use those filters. They're a lot of fun with speculars. Hopefully those gave you some ideas. Those images gave you some ideas to use that. Shri is asking, what software do y'all use earlier to compare images? I need fast loading photo viewer. Oh, I just use if you want to compare like JPEGs, right? Uh, I use Faststone. So I'll just type that in. Well, I can just go to the Faststone, right? So I'll give you the link. This is what I use. And because after I export the images, because that's what I want to compare is the final result, right? looking at images in your photo editor isn't always necessarily the best way to compare images. I always like to look at them exported, final result, and see what I get. But just to kind of demo, you can bring up, this is the Faststone browser, right? And if I want to compare, say, this sepia image with a black and white image, I just select these two and hit P. And then I have all the exif data here, but I can select what I want to show and not show. You know, I can add a histogram. I don't know what else is in here. I don't know what that is, but file name. I typically don't need the histogram, but because I'm not editing the picture. But uh, if I want to compare four images, you can do up to four. I can do like this one, this one, this one, and this one, and hit P. And I can compare these four images side by side and have all the EXIF data on top of that. And if the EXIF data is kind of a problem, I can just deactivate these. And then I can zoom in and just move them around. So, and it's free, right? So that's what I like to do. Um, this is a high-res shot mode infrared picture. I just used my OM3 with 12 to 40 Pro and a 720 nanometer infrared filter on the front. And if we look at the EXIF data, 0.7 seconds, f8, ISO 1600. Now, the reason I chose the highest ISO I can, which I think is 1600 when you're doing high-res shot mode, is because, people are moving. So I wanted to minimize motion blur and other artifacts in my image. So I wanted to use the fastest shutter speed I could. So I had to crank the ISO up as fast as I could because the filter, cuts so much light. You're down to like, several seconds on your exposure typically, sometimes 30 seconds. So that's why I use such a high ISO. And with high-res shot mode, it's stacking the images together anyway, so you're getting less noise. And then you run it through DxO, and it cleans it up very nicely. I had to do some processing with this, of course. This one I double processed it. I processed it in Photoshop by reversing the red and blue channels, and then I also processed it in DxO for the noise and sharpening and all of that. I think one of these I did not double process it. This one is not double processed, I believe. I can tell by it looks virtually identical. Oh, that is identical. This is the one. So we'll compare these two. This one I processed only in DxO. And this one I processed in Photoshop and DxO combined. And it's because I couldn't quite get the colors that I wanted when I was using DxO by itself. Uh, so that's why I took it into Photoshop to flip the red and blue channels and tweak those. And I got a little better result, I think, with the uh, double processing it like that. And if there's anything else here that's of interest, oh yeah, I did this just this morning before the stream started. Uh, this is stacked in Photoshop, and I'm thinking about just buying Helicon Focus because Photoshop does okay for stacking, but it's not perfect. And I think Helicon would do a better job. But I'll give you an example. Whoops, let me zoom in on this. If you look around the hair on the edges, you can see that the brick is out of focus, but then the hair is in focus. I'm hoping Helicon Focus would be able to remedy this particular problem I'm having. So you can see, oops, God, sorry, I keep doing that. If I zoom all the way in, you can see like right here, Photoshop kept the hairs in focus, but then the brick behind it, it used that layer. So yeah, I maybe I can look at some techniques on Photoshop on how to mitigate this issue. It's a pain in the ass to go in and individually adjust the masking on the layers. So I'm hoping there's a workflow to remedy this a little bit easier. Otherwise, I might have to get Helicon Focus. But this came up pretty good. This is another one. Same issue. This one I didn't focus stack deep enough. That's why this is so out of focus up here. But same spider. I spent about an hour trying to get the right chasing this spider around with a leaf. I used a little leaf to kind of move him around, get him in the right position. But this came out pretty good, except for like I said, the stacking. Yeah, and the in-camera stacking didn't do a great job on this either. Uh, I'll see if I can find that, but I got a better result stacking in Photoshop, and I think Helicon would do even better than this. So that's what I did this morning, and I used the exact setup I showed you with the diffuser and the you know IT30 with the OM3 all handheld. Okay, let me get a quick drink. Um, Xeron Stacker, and I tried Picolay this morning. Is that still open? No, I closed it already. I was trying Picolay this morning. Picolay has a lot of fine tuning that I can do that I might be able to get better results with it than Photoshop. Picolay is a free focus stacking software. I'm not familiar with Zurin or Zerine. I have to look into that. Let me write that down. Stuart uses Zerine. I'll take a look at that. And car tracking is fantastic on the Z52. It's excellent as well on the OM1 and OM3. I've shot, I think, both of those with the OM1 and the OM3. It was really good. I was also going to ask you about processing chip power needed for Photolab. What is your suggestion? The CPU itself, just any chip is fine. Any modern chip, right? Uh, i7, i5, i9, or the whatever the AMD equivalents are. As long as it's within the last few generations, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, the CPU in itself is not quite as critical as the graphics processor. I think the NVIDIA processor is the one I have the experience with, is excellent. And you want to make sure you get at least the RTX series. So you want the RTX 3050, RTX 3060, the 60, the 3060, the 4060, and now they have a 5060. Any of those are excellent for Photolab. And it'll make a huge difference in the processing time. Uh, so a friend of mine has a Core i7 with the RTX 4060, and she's only a few seconds slower in processing, like noise reduction, than with my superior Core i9 and 4080 chipset. She's only a few seconds behind. So the reason I went with the 4080, the higher spec video chip or graphic chip, is because I do video. And for video processing, yeah, there's a pretty good jump from a 4060 to a 4080. But for photography, for the Photolab, the 4060, 4070, 4080 are all excellent. I haven't tried anything with the 3050, 4050, like the lower end chips, the RTX lower end RTX chips, but anything is better than nothing. So go get the most powerful graphics chip you can afford. The CPU is secondary, 16 gig of RAM minimum, and you'll be good to go. Stripes was just on Pluto. That song is in there. Fun movie, yeah. Yeah, when I'm looking scrolling through pictures, that song just always comes to my mind. Uh, so I picked up the IT30 flash and I love it on my Fuji X100VI. So I have two more on the way for my ZF and X100V, which I keep the 28 millimeter adapter on it permanently. Excuse me. The wheel makes it so easy to use. Yes. This IT30 is great. Another thing I have on my deal page is I have a generic riser. I don't know if you've heard about the riser that's coming. Uh, yeah, this thing. This is a generic one. It's $15. What I like about it is also has a PC sync port here. Because a lot of cameras don't have PC sync ports anymore. And that's actually really useful. You can just get a long PC sync cable and use your flash off camera with this. And this is standard. But my OM3 does not have a PC sync port. So if I use this, I can use just about any flash with this off camera, given my cord is long enough, right? But let me demo this. So this is the riser, and the purpose of this is to get the flash higher than the lens so that you don't get shadow casting, particularly with wide angle. You don't have to worry about it with telephoto, short telephoto, even normal 50 millimeter, 25 millimeter. But when you start going wide angle and in micro four thirds terms, like 12, 14 millimeters, having the flash low is a problem. You'll get a little bit of shadow on the bottom of your frame. But yeah, you can see how and then this gives you the tilting ability, right? So you can do bounce flash if you want. So go to my deal page if you're interested in this for it's not TTL, it's full manual, right? There's only a single pin on here. But this is really good because it has the PC sync port for me, right? For me, this is very, very handy because I have cameras that don't have a PC sync port. My EM5 Mark III, no PC sync port. And when you buy accessories, for your photography, I always look for maximum flexibility so that I can use that accessory in multiple different ways in multiple cameras and or multiple different cameras. And this is one of those devices. And with Flash, typically you're in full manual anyway. So I don't need to wait for the one coming from Godox that is TTL compatible. It's a TTL compatible riser, very similar, but that one only tilts backwards. It doesn't tilt forward. This one tilts forward and backwards. It'd be nice if it rotated too, right? Maybe that they'll come out with one of those. Uh, but yeah, this is a great little device to go along with your mini flashes. And so happy about, oh yeah, Enrique, awesome. Turned out to be just a cable, I think, right? The cable that comes with the IT30 is not a data cable, so you can't update the firmware with the cable they included, which is stupid. So I made a video about it. A few people watched, but not many. Nobody cares about my videos. Uh, Zareen is slower than Helicon Focus, but said to give cleaner results. It's also cheaper. Yeah, cheaper is always good. And I can wait. Of course, I'm getting older now. Maybe I should be always using the fastest stuff available. you know? I don't have as much time to get things done anymore. When you look at the scheme of things, do any of us though, right? We're all on the clock here. What's so nice about the flashes on both my X100 cameras is it sits very flush and leaves no shadows. Ah, okay. I don't have an X100 anymore, but I guess that's about the right. But yeah, that makes sense. I think the X100, if you don't count the lens, is not quite as deep. But then when you add the lens, this is probably exactly the same length, right, or depth as the camera with lens. Um, and Hesse is here. Good to see you. All right, so I think I caught up on the chat. If I missed anything, just type it in again. There's no way I'm going to be able to find it now. One other topic, and this is a rehash of, I think we talked about this last week. No, actually, it's a couple of weeks now. We talked about what we want from OM Systems next, right? And the consensus was it was split equally between improve uh, the sensor, better dynamic range, better autofocus, more megapixels, right? Well, no, it's split between like improving the sensor at 20 megapixels. So 20 megapixels, keep it there, but improve dynamic range and noise performance, autofocus, just make the sensor better at 20. And then the other half was like, give us more megapixels, right? Without losing quality. So they were content with the quality they're getting, but we would like more megapixels. If you can increase the megapixels without sacrificing image quality, half of you wanted that, the other half wanted just improve that. And then a smaller percentage wanted new camera bodies or new features like computational features. Uh, Check out the live stream, What We All Want, from a couple of weeks ago if you want to watch that. But well, someone, I think it was Jeffrey Peters, or I'm sorry, I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it was Jeffrey, but one of my viewers and members or subscriber made a really thoughtful comment. It's very long, and I believe it's on that video. Made it very recently, in the last couple of days, about the autofocus is kind of the core thing they have to get right and be better at than everybody else before anything else. And I thought that was interesting. And he cited Sony as an example where their autofocus is the market leader right now. And that's that is sort of the where the money is if you can make the perfect autofocus, superior autofocus, people are going to buy your camera over another camera because all the other specs are kind of secondary, right? Sensor technology is kind of plateaued. Yeah, some are better than others, but the difference in autofocus performance is pretty stark in some cases. And if you're better at autofocus than anybody else, you're going to be the winner, as Sony has demonstrated. Things like the computational features are secondary, nice to haves, and and we're talking from a broad market perspective, right? And I have to say, I agree with it. I agree with them. This is this is the money. This is where the money is in the camera industry, is having the best autofocus. What do you guys think? I mean, if we had the best bird tracking, the best car tracking, the best eye tracking, the very best of all of those, on top of that, whatever other autofocusing enhancements and computational things we can do with autofocus, if we were the very best at it, if OM Systems, whatever camera system is the very best at it, they are going to be the system people buy generally speaking, over any other system because there's a lot of Sony users that they have the same features, focus stacking, not stacking, I'm sorry, focus bracketing, high-res shot mode, pre-capture, right? They have these features, like in Nikon as well. Very few of them use those features. They bought that camera because of the autofocus, right? Whether it's a hyped autofocus performance or not, they bought that camera because the autofocus is reliable and not because of the other features. Now, for me, okay, me personally, the computational features outweigh the autofocus performance. The autofocus performance to me is more than capable, but I'd rather have the computational features that OM system offers in camera stacking, high res shot mode, because of the execution of these features, the pro capture, Starry Sky app, they have a lot of computational things, right? That other cameras have, but the execution of these features are so well done in the system that they're easy to use. Now they have a CP button, easy to access, and that has a very, very high value to me over saying getting better autofocus in another camera system. Because I have the A7R5, Canon R8, my full frame cameras, and then my APS-Cs. I have a Fuji X-H2. So I have a lot of features in these cameras that overlap with the computational features in OM systems, but the execution of those are just terrible. And I don't use them because they're a pain in the butt to use or not effective or other problems. Not to say that I couldn't get good results using the features that they, in their cameras, but it's not the workflow is not anywhere as seamless. And uh, so for me, that's I put a lot of priority in that over more megapixels, better autofocus. If autofocus and more megapixels was my only priority, which I think a lot of people in the general public buying cameras are, that's why OM Systems is not grabbing the market share. They lost a lot of market share because they changed their name too, right? Olympus was a rocking name. That was an awesome, very beautiful name for a camera system. OM system, it's kind of technical, blah. I don't like the name OM system. I get why they picked it, but you know, doesn't matter. Name doesn't matter, right? What you call it. But it's not as nice as Leica, Canon, Olympus. Olympus. These are really nice names. Hasselblad. And then they got OM system. It's like I'm just speculating, but I think the name change was a big problem. But I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean, a lot of us are here in a bubble, right? We're like-minded. We like the computational features. We like our OM system. We're all fans of OM systems and Olympus. But that's where it is for me. But I want you to think about the market in general. Do you think that in the market in general is the autofocus the end all be all of why people buy a camera? That has to be the best. I mean, in general. Okay. Okay, Stuart, we'll see you later. And yeah, going medium format, if they were a huge company and had the money, they could experiment with medium format, put one out there. But yeah, it's not going to happen in the current form of OM systems. And Robert, good to see you. Oh, you should have went. It was awesome. If you like tree frogs and things, it was awesome. A lot of tree frogs out. And Chuck says, for wildlife, I'd agree. IAF especially, we've all taken pictures we thought would be sharp. We go home and they weren't. Sony's IAF works really well when paired with a first-party lenses. Yes. Hi Rob, joined late. Just about to order the Exxon 14 to 42 Olympus lens around 100 bucks. Any thoughts? Small pancake and seems pocketable. Yeah, it's a great lens. I use it all the time. It's what's keeping me from replacing my 12 to 40 f2.8 finally died. I kicked it, and well, I didn't kick it, but I pounded it on the table and it started working again. But then yesterday, right in the middle of my photo walk, it stopped working, and all the pounding in the world didn't get it to work again. I'm not saying if your lens stopped working, pound it, but if you guys know the history of that lens, you can, pounding it is not going to do it any harm, any more harm than it's already had. Uh, and it's not worth repairing because all the optics inside have water spots all over them. So why would I repair a lens that has water spots all over all the inside elements, right? Uh, I bought my Z7 original for a good deal, but have the luxury now of having within the Z7 a DX 20 megapixel cam as well as the firmware helped it. Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious, how is the autofocus on the Z7 Mark II now with all the firmware updates they've had since? Because that's the problem. Nobody reviews the freaking cameras after their launch, right? You got a few users that talk about it, but uh, they're far and few between, and you can't really come to a consensus about the firmware updates and how good they were for the autofocusing system. It'd be nice to see somebody take a Z7 II with all the latest firmware and compare it against a Z8 and see how much difference there is now. I don't know. Yeah, they should have found another cool mythical mountain name. Yeah, you have to kind of like balance like familiarity. People that know Olympus from the film days know about OM system because that was on all their lenses. And that's what they call it, their OM system, right? But yeah, I think there's a way they could have found something interesting, but I don't know what that is. And the Godox IT30 has a PC sync connection. Which cable can I get for the camera flash for the Hachu X100V without using the adapter that you just mentioned? Which cable can I get for a camera flash? I'm not familiar with the X100V. Let me take a quick look. If the X100V has a PC sync port, whoops, X100. Which one do you have again? You have the X100VI. Okay. X100VI does not have it. Instead, it uses a 2.5 millimeter jack located on the side. This jack works as a sync terminal. Oh, that's interesting. So what you need is a single pole 2.5 millimeter double male cable. So let me see if I can find this. This should work. Uh, Single pole 2.5 millimeter cable. Not single, two pole. Sorry, my bad. I always get confused. Two pole. Not seeing any come up. I see a lot of I see a lot of TRS and TRRS, but I don't see it. Here's they have it here, but it's only one ended. What if I type in male to male? Well, just so you guys know what I'm looking for is you see this thing here. You need a 2.5 millimeter cable, but it needs to be male on both sides. And then that should work. Uh, but I don't see one with a male on both ends. Oh, here's one. 2.5 millimeter, 90-degree angle, even better. Okay, so I'll give you a link to this. This is what you want. Uh, it's $7. And I'm basing that on uh, this thing here. It says it uses a 2.5 millimeter jack located on the side of the camera to sync the electronic flashes. This jack works as a sync terminal, allowing you so it looks like right here there's a sync port or da 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 da. Because this is what I use. This goes into the camera, this goes into the flash, but they're saying that the X100 VI does not have this. It has this. So that's my best guess. Make sure you do your due diligence on that, Enrique. But that should work based on what I'm reading. But I don't know. I don't have an X100 VI to tell you for sure. Uh, Marco says I can get a 12 to 45 pro forma around $300 locally if you want me to try and score it. Oh wow, man, that would be awesome. Um, yeah, email me that if you can find it. Maybe I can order it directly. That would be great. Because I almost pulled the trigger yesterday for $400 because they have it locally here at the district camera, and 400 bucks is a good deal because they're selling for more than that on eBay. Locally here in the U.S. And good morning, the great Vanzini. Uh, but mm, I got a phone call when I was ordering it, and they closed. They closed at 6 o'clock yesterday, so I went online to order it so I could just go there and pick it up. And then I got a phone call at 5 o'clock, and that phone call lasted until 6 o'clock, and they closed. So I said, "Well, all right, I'll wait." Darko says, "I have a big duty to take the wife to work." Oh, okay, yeah. Drive safely. Let's see you next week. And Marcia says a jar of juice burst and spilled all its contents all over my fridge. I've been cleaning as I'm listening. Thanks for saving my sanity. Sorry to hear that happen, Marcia. I spilled a bunch of coffee in the trunk of my car because I came back from a shoot and they bought me like a coffee. So I brought it with me and I put my bag in the car and I put the coffee down in the trunk and then I closed the trunk. Getting old, man. Fortunately, it was black coffee. I just said just black coffee, no cream, no sugar. Because I'm trying to get my weight down again. I put on a little bit, just a little bit, and I want to take that off. So I'm back to just black coffee again, and among other things. I mean, this ain't gonna do it all by itself, right? But um, I figure just cut out sugar as much as I can, including in my coffee creamer. Yeah, so just connect IT30. I think that should work because I've used the PC sync port on IT30, no problem. If the sync port on the X100 VI is truly a PC sync port just in a 2.5 millimeter form, that should work. It's just a little harder to find the cable, but there you go. All right, so not much comment on the AF. The one was really good though. Diffusers. So those topics I had today. I didn't know if you guys had any topics you wanted to talk about or any questions I can answer. I guess let me show a couple of pictures while those come in, if any, and uh, they're on my Flickr. I think I posted everything except that last one on my Flickr page. So we talked about these. This is a focus stacking in camera. Just a couple of mushrooms I got over at Huntley Meadows, and this is some caterpillar. It's beautiful though. Little red spots all over. People, there was a huge crowd around this caterpillar, and so I had to wait. But the caterpillar, when it came around to like my turn to get a picture of it, the caterpillar just kind of was resting. But the whole time, the caterpillar was like propped up, like half its body was up in the air, and it was looking around at all the people, and everybody got these great shots of it like standing up halfway. And then when it came to my turn, I just had to get this ground shot. Uh, and then let's see, lots of tree frogs. This one came out great. This is handheld, 60 millimeter macro lens. Um, there's my buddy David heading out. He's got his 600, 150 to 600 and OM1 on a gimbal with monopod. He got the monopod and the gimbal from Ideal Page, and he seems to really like it, but it's still heavy. This is the Sure monopod. It's carbon fiber, quick release, $145 now. That's a deal. And then there's a $40 gimbal on there. He said it works great. This shot here is a high res shot mode cropped in a little bit, but the bird didn't move at all. High res shot mode came out great. There's really a lot of fine details here. Um, that's the infrared shot. I talked about that. Here's a dragonfly. This is again the 300 millimeter f4 with 1.4x teleconverter. Lots of great detail. You can see the pattern in the eyes here, all the little hairs along the dragonfly's body, and just beautiful color. And great bokeh in the background. This came out really good. This is my OM3 and 300 f4 with teleconverter. This is a lucky shot, but butterfly taken off from the flower. I just use bird detect on butterflies. I would say it captures the butterfly about 20% of the time using bird detect, but that's better than zero, right? I'll have to try just tracking instead of subject detect one day and see if that works any better. Because the tracking has improved on the OM3, uh, but it was so unreliable in previous cameras, EM5, EM1s, that I didn't use it at all. Another tree frog, great detail here. This is a single shot, 20 megapixel. I probably could have used high res shot mode on it though. And this is from last week. I think I showed these last week. This one made explore. And then let me just check my thing here. I thought I had another folder. A few other things here. These came out really good. These are the uh, 60 macro with the OM3. But this is not a stacked image because the fly was moving around too much. So I was lucky to get even one shot. But I ended up getting a couple of shots. There's one of an ant, some kind of fly. I like this picture here. Not many people like this one, but I like the detail I got on this one and the colors. The red eyes with the green leaf, and then just sort of this neutral grayish tan body. So I thought the color palette was beautiful, and I also thought the detail captured was really nice. Um, and then the spider, again, really nice color palette here and good detail. So this ant, same amount of detail, but doesn't have quite the same color palette, right, as the previous image. This is just green and black. So there's might as well be a monochrome image. Uh, what if I grayscale it? I think that looks pretty good, even as a black and white. And that's it. So that's what I've been up to. And the pictures of my friend, I did that studio portrait session with a pregnant lady, but I can't show any of those. Um, but that went really well. That was a nice little studio. I have to pull up my chat window. Okay. And good morning, Plug Nichols. Good to see you. Yeah, it's a little late, but that's okay. And Gear Fatigue says, I personally think the AF just needs to be up to snuff. For me, the reason I moved away from OM system is due to lack of video features, specifically the 4K. That's true. That's another big one, right? People are really looking for auto, and I think Jeffrey mentioned that, or Jeff, in his very long post. Video specs. I am not a video guy by any means. So I'm very content with the capabilities since the EM10 Mark II, to be honest. But uh, yeah, I I know a lot of people like Casey over at Camera Conspiracies, man. He loves video on his cameras. For all the I still like him. I know some people have kind of dropped off, but I still like him a lot. His channel, even though he doesn't talk about anything that I care about. He talks about video and autofocus, but I just enjoy his personality and his view on things, the way he expresses his opinion and stuff. Uh, Sis Mature, good to see you. My recent wildlife photos are superb. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Coming from you, that means a lot. And I'm quite happy with the tracking on them. If they made it even better than Sony, I'd be, double ghost. because I'm actually planning on a Leica M. Wow, a Leica M. That would be something. I really enjoy my Pentax monochrome a lot. I really love that camera, and if I could afford a Leica M, I would have that, but I can't. Just found this on Amazon. Flash TTL cord, off-camera flash hot shoe cord. Will this also work? If it's the right um, if it's the right one for that flash and if it's a Fujifilm TTL cord, yeah, it'll work. No problem. I have one. I use it all the time. I have an Olympus version. I don't know if it's JJC. It's like 25 bucks, but it's just a flash extension cord, right? And it just it just copies the pins from one end to the other. Had to send the M10 Mark. Oh, really? That sucks. My EM5 Mark III was overheating, and I sent it in for warranty repair because I had had it for almost a year, and they replaced the circuit board inside completely in my EM5 Mark III, and then it wasn't overheating anymore. I tend to use the OM for photos and Lumix for video, especially as the M43 lenses fit both. Yes. Um, yeah, Lumix has always been awesome at video. So it's surprising. Think about it. Oh, Lumix for the longest time always had the best video specs, but the weakest autofocus, right? Because they were using the depth from defocus contrast. I'm not saying it was terrible; it was fine for photography, but yeah, they never until recently did they start using phase detect, and everybody's saying, okay, their autofocus is decent now, right? Not top of the line, but decent. And maybe it's too late for them to catch up at this point. Fulham Systems, Olympus, always pretty, excuse me. Oh, I'm so sorry. That's so rude. I'm sorry. But OM System has always had decent autofocus with the phase detect since the M1 Mark One, but never had great video. So they probably pulled ahead a little bit and, gained a little market share with their autofocus, compact system, all of that, computational features. Well, the whole package really kept them having a decent market because they were in the 20s, right? 20 some percent market share, maybe 25, maybe a third, but whatever. They had a huge, pretty respectable market share for the longest time. And now they don't. I don't know. I don't know what happened. Is it because they never caught up on the video side? Is it because everyone else got better at autofocus? It'll be really interesting if anybody knows exactly um, why people are not buying Micro Four Thirds or why they're leaving Micro Four Thirds, right? It's kind of a combination of the both. Yeah, it's not the worst thing sending the M10 Mark IV back. It's a nice little camera, but it's really long in the tooth. Uh, and the OM5 Mark II, if you really like the sand beige color, I'd say get that. That's pretty cool. Uh, maybe an OM5 Mark II in beige, unless you hate that color, then get a silver or black. But if you want to stay at that price point of around 600 or 700 bucks, that's a tough call. There's nothing out there right now on in Micro Four Thirds new cameras. Interesting. If you want to look at some used cameras, there's a lot to choose from in the $600 range. Interesting, the Lumix G9 Mark II and G8 can both shoot video at 240p FPS, which is great for slow motion pending post-production. Yes. Yeah, they're like I said, they have the 240. So as someone had mentioned earlier, they left OM Systems because of the 4K 120. But does that mean they left from OM Systems to Panasonic, or did they leave and go completely out of Micro Four Thirds to say APS-C or full frame? Oh, you already got the beige. That's right. And you used my affiliate link to buy it too, come to think of it, which I really appreciate. Something for a backup camera used. Oh, all right. Uh, get it used OM5 Mark One, or if you want something completely different, uh, and still want to be compact and not overpay, like a GX9 or G9, a GX9. Why is that so expensive? But anyway, EM5 Mark II, you can get those for about 300-400 bucks in good condition. That's a fun little camera. Very compact, smaller than the OM5 that you have now, and virtually all the same features. Autofocus is nowhere near the level. If you want to stay at those autofocus levels, it's a second OM5, but a Mark 5 Mark II has a pretty serious shutter shock problem. So I use silent shutter with that camera a lot. And I just love the the slight redesign, additional buttons, and the EVF is nicer, I think. The M5 Mark II is one of the finest cameras ever made, in my opinion. One of the best out there of all time, in my opinion. EM5 Mark II, best camera of all time. I'd only put maybe the OM3 ahead of that. Time will tell, but I really like my OM3 a lot. Uh, but the M5 Mark II, I would put it right up there. You have an EM5 Mark II, man. Yeah, it's just bad gas. You got gas. Buy a Pentax monochrome. Forget about backup cameras. Okay, you have the backups. You have a backup for your backup. Forget about those. Get something completely different, a Pentax monochrome, or because you can get those used for about 1,400, I think. Uh, get an old Pentax K3 Mark One. Man, that's a really cool little camera. Is that what's right here? Yeah, I paid 300 bucks for this. It had 5,000 on the shutter, so practically new. And you can get a lot of Pentax lenses pretty cheap. Like I bought the 51.4 for 100 bucks. And this is, I don't know if you've ever shot Pentax, but this has some serious, like, some very serious uh, features. They're well thought out. I'm so impressed by, I don't know why Pentax didn't take over the DSLR world, but I'm really impressed with the Pentax system. And I started with the Pentax monochrome. Well, I take that back. I had a K10D, which I need to get working again. XMeta sent me the files so I could get it working again. It has a back button. It has a back focusing issue. But every time I go through the menus on the system, the menus suck. But when I go through the menus and see the features that it has and the things you can do with this, I'm just really impressed. I wish I can't remember off the top of my head what they are, but I'm always impressed when I pick up this camera and I take a few pictures with it. And the lenses they have for it, Like I can highly recommend the Sigma 17 to 50 2.8. This is the non-OS version, or no image stabilization on the lens, but they have both. Either one is fine. I got the one without because it was cheaper, and the Pentax has built-in IBIS anyway. Uh, God, these cameras are so good. They're just heavy. My God, this is like a kilo. This is like 1.5 kilos with the lens, if not more. Probably closer to two. Let me weigh this thing. I mean, this thing is no joke. It's heavy. Yeah, it's about 1.5 kilos for this setup here. Uh, you know, but I really like the system. I mean, I can't convert to Pentax obviously for anything, professionally or even as an enthusiast. I couldn't go all in on Pentax, but for if you have gas and you have the disposable income, then I would I would say look into some used Pentax. $300 for a K3 Mark One in excellent condition. Couple lenses, and I think you'll really enjoy it. Oh, Eric's listening in. Good to have you here, Eric. And John. Oh, Larry's here. Hey, Larry. Oh, your original OM5. Cool. Yeah, Marco. Just reach out to Marco. I think you're a moderator here, Marco, so you can put like an email address if you want in the chat. Uh, Rob, what do you think about the Z7 II for landscape and urban photography? It's very tempting for me, even. Um, Thomas Heaton used the Z7 II for a long time and wasn't convinced initially to get a Z8, right? He had the Z8 next to his Z7, and I forget the reason he wanted to go with the Z8 eventually. Probably just gas, but but yeah, it's a pretty awesome system. Has a very low ISO. Base ISO is like 40 or 60, something really low, and has a decent decent ratio of pixel density, right? So it's only a 45 megapixel camera. So it's not packly dense like my 60 megapixel A7R5, but still more than enough pixels with less noise, right? Overall. And if you're downscaling and putting on Instagram or something, it doesn't matter. But as an enthusiast, if you really like looking at these on your screen and being able to punch in and print large and do all the things you can do with 40, if you take advantage of the 45 megapixels, the Z7 II is awesome. Great dynamic range. Uh, it's compact, durable, weather sealed, dual card slots. I could have got one with about 49,000 shutter click for like 1,100 bucks or 1,200 bucks. So if you can get one for around 1,200, $1,300, and then you get one of their S series lenses, and there's some great third party lenses also. It's a really great system that you can get a high resolution, excellent sensor for cheap, right? You don't have to buy the Z8 for 3,000 or 4,000, whatever it is. You don't have to buy an A7R5, A7R4. You can skip all of those. You can get a really excellent landscape camera for 2,000 bucks. You can get the camera and a couple of really good lenses, and you have a system that will generate images as good as anything on the market today, in my opinion. So I keep shopping Z7 IIs. Uh, but I never buy one because I'm like, I got too many cameras. I got an A7R5. Why would I buy a Z7 II? If I'm hardly using the A7R5, why would I buy? How often am I really going to use a Z7 II? And do I really what I'd rather have is the S1R, right? The Mark One or the Mark II. I can get the Mark One for about the same price as the Z7 II because I don't have lenses for either one. I don't have any Z mount lenses or L mount lenses. So if I buy into these systems, I'm gonna have to get lenses for them too. But I like the S1R Mark One and the Mark II. But the Mark II would have better autofocus. But as a landscape camera, the Mark One would be perfectly fine. I don't know. I have to wait though. I'm really overextended right now. Uh, I'm getting there. Hopefully by Black Friday, I will have cleared my credit card. Hopefully, and I can rack them up again for Christmas and Black Friday. Yeah, yeah. I think. Are you saying you have one or I have one? I definitely have a K10D. I need to fix it though. And John is asking, can OM Workspace connect to a cloud drive folders? Like, I don't know. I've never tried. Uh, I do not have an answer for you there. I can, I use Windows and I have a Google Drive. I'm going to check right now, see if I can connect to the Google Drive. That's a cloud drive, right? But I don't have any way to test if I can connect to a iCloud. Yeah, if I can open a folder. Yeah, it works. So right now I'm in my Google Drive. I know that's really hard to see, but yeah, I can open up a folder and I can work on a photo. It's a little sluggish, but yeah. So short answer is I can connect to my Google Drive, but I don't know if iCloud is the same thing or not. Okay. Always worth having a backup camera, especially if you travel overseas. I always take two. Yes. And small and lightweight is number one. Okay. So the S1R, the K3s are not an option. Um, man, you got me. Okay, I got it. I got it. Leica Deluxe 8, Panasonic LX100 Mark II. Very small. LX100 Mark II is about more than half the price of it. Deluxe 8, and they're basically the same. I would, I would go that route. So you don't need to worry about bringing lenses with you. So it's even more lightweight and compact, right? I mean, unless you're shooting telephoto all the time, but if it's a backup camera, it has a pretty decent okay television. Um, and then here's like an S1R with a couple of batteries. Uh, that's not a bad deal, but I can get, and man, shutter count's really low though. And they're going to throw in a 256 gig card, an extra battery, That's actually a really good deal when you count that they're including the card. I don't know. I'm gonna add that to my list. I'm terrible. I have such bad gas. That's a good deal though. Uh, Gray Vanzini says, interesting idea. Yeah, an LX100 Mark II. Awesome. And Henning says, with the Leica M, I was referring to the rangefinder manual focus M series. Yes, perhaps M10 monochrome. That would be great, but rarely offered for sale. Yeah, I don't. I've never shopped for one, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're hard to get. I thought I saw one at District Camera. I mean, they're like $10,000 though, right? And then you got to get a $5,000 lens. There's an M11 monochrome. Yeah, they're 9,000. I'm just curious. Like an M10 monochrome. Why don't they have one at MPB? B&H has the brand new. They have the M11s. There you go. I don't know if that's a good deal or not. That looks like it's in good shape. Man, $7,300. Ooh, wow, we're talking major bucks there. Oh, Michael, good to see you. So I think I'll call it here. Oh, there's one more question here. How's the autofocus on the Pentax? I heard that it's one area they lack, and even the brand has admitted it, though that was for the full front. Oh, it's it's tricky. Uh, if you use because the points are all clustered kind of in the middle of the frame, right? If you use the center three or four, that's where you get the very best autofocus. So you point and recompose. I've been having good luck with that. But yeah, if you're just going to use it, you know, kind of like you can't use it. The autofocus is nowhere near like on any mirrorless camera. I'll tell you that. Uh, Even my EM10 Mark II had better autofocus point to point. Like if I was just going to point and shoot. So the point and shoot camera, it's a little rough. I am struggling a bit. I miss focus time to time when I think I should have had it. So I'm fine with that because it's just a it's sort of my uh, just for fun camera anyway. So if I miss shots with it, I don't worry about it. But yeah, it's not great. It's not like you can depend on it. You have to be very, very deliberate in your focus points and where you focus and take two shots just to make sure. But that's why I would never use it for anything professional because I don't think I could rely on it. But for fun, yeah, it's good enough. But okay, uh, I will call it here. And you guys, again, thank you so much for joining me today. It's great talking to everybody. And I hope you have a great rest of your day, great week. Eat healthy, exercise, and remember to support the channel through memberships and using my links down below. That's all greatly appreciated. So until next time, I'll be back on Tuesday for a shopping stream, God willing. Thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.